Good evening, everyone. Our guest for Idea Exchange today needs no introduction. We have with us Ashwini Bhire. She is the Commissioner of Mumbai City, Municipal Commissioner. She started her career as the Assistant Collector in Kotapur, and since the 1990s, she has held administrative affairs, taken charge of administrative divisions across multiple cities of the state. And before joining BMC as the commissioner, she held the charge of managing director in MMRCL. And prior to that, she was serving as the additional municipal commissioner in BMC. In her recent stints, she has held and seen the execution of some of the most prestigious projects of the city, including the Coastal Road Tunnel project, the underground Mumbai Metro line, and after having completed this stint successfully, she took over as the first commissioner, the first female commissioner of BMC earlier this year. We are very excited to have you here, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you
for joining us. So you have now completed 4 months in the BMC. This is your 5th month, and you joined in your appointment in the BMC came at a very interesting time within the BMC itself, because after 4 years, we saw that the elected representatives were coming back to power. Also, this is the first time in the history of BMC that 3 women are at the helm of power, be it you, be it Ritu Tavre Madam as the mayor, be it Kishori Pednekar as the leader of opposition. So, these past 4 months, what have your experiences been like, and what's it been like working in tandem with the civic body, the elected representatives, and these women in the seat of power? How has it been different?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here. It's a very good forum where we could exchange ideas. As far as working with elected representatives is concerned, I have experienced it in BMC earlier also. I have spent almost 4 years as additional municipal commissioner in BMC from 2020 to 2024, early 2024. So, out of that 2.5 years, the elected body was very much there. And even during COVID, when physical meetings of general body were not happening, but we were working closely. All those most of the meetings were online meetings, but I'm very well versed with working with the elected body. And that is why when I came here, for me nothing changed, because when elected body was not there, I was also not there in BMC. So it is very important that the administration works very closely and with a lot of understanding with the elected body, because they are elected by people, they are representatives of people. And Mumbai Municipal Corporation, with a history of more than 160 years and in a very, very well laid down legislation, it clearly defines the role of elected body and the role of the commissioner and the rest of the administration. So for me, it was a very, very normal thing. In fact, I'm very familiar with BMC system of various committees and general bodies, and I had earlier attended most of the standing committee meetings as well as the general body. So elected representatives, especially councillors, because they represent almost 227 wards of the corporation, which means those many people they represent, and they bring a lot of inputs, feedback, the requirements of the local areas, and that is what is discussed in the various meetings of corporations. Moreover, most of these people, I mean, barring the new ones who are elected, all the old ones I had already worked with. So they were familiar with my style of working. I knew their strengths, and that's why it's for me there was no issue about getting along with them and started working. In fact, most of them, apart from the committee meetings, they come, meet, give their representations. From our side, what our expectations are, we express. For example, recently I wrote a letter to each one of them for their role in the cleanliness drive which we are doing, because that's very, very important. And the response has been amazing from their side.
So you have, since you've helmed a lot of infrastructure projects, I have to ask you about the roads in Mumbai. I mean, BMC is the richest municipal corporation in India, arguably even in Asia. And Mumbai is the financial capital of the country. Yet its roads are not really, the road network is not comparable with other cities of the country. If you compare it with a Delhi, for instance, it has vast metro network, it has vast road network. Since you have worked in the you have held so many infrastructure projects, and you know the geography of the city inside out. You've also worked on underground projects. Why do you think there has been this gap? Why it has taken so long to bridge this gap? And as the commissioner, what is going to be your vision for the infrastructure of the city? Do you want Mumbai in a way to become the blueprint for infrastructure development going forward, considering BMC is helming some of the biggest infrastructure projects of the city right now?
I think let us begin with roads. Just having budget provision or funds is not adequate to ensure that the road network is adequate and of a certain nature. There are two issues about road. First, the length of the road network, or the spread of the road network, and secondly, the quality of the network. As far as spread of the road network is concerned, we all know that Mumbai is a very linear city. It's peninsular in nature, and it on all three sides there is ocean, there is sea, so we can't expand it, and that's the reason we have just 448 square kilometers of area, and which also has a large chunk of forest or national park in it. Plus we have coastal regulatory zone, the coastal area. So on account of it, the actual area available for development and road network is very less. So roughly 11%, 8 to 9% of our area is under roads. 8 to 9 or 11, but in that range, it is under roads. Comparing, if you compare it to Delhi, Delhi has a road network of almost 28,000 kilometers, whereas Mumbai has 2,050 kilometers. That's the difference, because that's the size of the city. We can't expand. So so that is the first thing. So road network is very limited, and we, even if we expand it, even if we widen it, there is a limit. Finally, we can't uh, extend the length of this road network. We have tried to do it by way of having a coastal ring road, by having some underground corridors. That's what we are trying to do now. So if you see the coastal ring road, we are from Marine Drive, we are going up to Virar, and even if you take the BMC area up to the Hisar, we are going. So that is the length of the road which we are trying to achieve. Part of it is already done. Part of it is being executed by MSRDC, and the northern part is being done by BMC. So maybe by 2029-30, we will be able to complete this coastal road till the Hisar at least. The Hisar will go up to Mira Bhayandar, but as far as Mumbai is concerned, it is the Hisar. Apart from that, we are having now the network of underground ring road on the eastern side. This is western side. On eastern side, we have this Goregaon Mulund link road, which the work has already started, and part of it is, major part of it is in the form of tunnel. MMRDA is doing Borivali Thane tunnel. Then we are also having Eastern Freeway, which will get connected by Worli Shivdi link road. So the point is, at grade road expansion, except the coastal road, which is an addition to the city, we hardly have any scope. So we can go elevated in some cases, and we can go underground in some cases. But that will also add maximum 100 to 200 kilometers of network, not more than that. So this is the overall road network which we can have in Mumbai. As far as BMC is concerned, out of 2050 kilometer network, we have concretized 1900 kilometers we have already concretized. Now there are two types of concretization. One is end-to-end concretization. Old concretization included the flexible pavement on the edges. So the edges were kept either in bitumen or paver blocks because the utilities were there. So that parts, roughly around 700-800 kilometers, those side strips, what we call, they are not concretized. So but we plan to concretize them. Remaining 150-kilometer road network, out of that 50 kilometer is already under construction because during monsoon we had stopped that work. So another 100 kilometers we have to take up under concretization. So that program, but the balance roads for concretization and the side strips for concretization, that we will take up now in this year, and the works will start. Apart from that, some of our roads are less than 9 meters and we need to make them 9 meters. And some DP roads are still on paper and they are not actually in usage because there are private land needs to be acquired, some structures need to be removed. So we call it a bottleneck removal policy, and that is our priority again. So every ward we have taken 5 important roads where we need to remove the bottlenecks, widen the road, and then those roads will be concretized. So that activity we are taking up. So this will take care of entire Mumbai's road network, but we, as I said, because of the structural issues, there is hardly any scope for further expansion. So then comes the second point, that is the quality of road. So quality of road, even in bitumen, we can have good quality of road. The only problem is because we also need constant trenching in the city because we don't have space is the main constraint. So we don't have, unlike Delhi, we don't have space for utilities outside the road zone. So all the utilities are beneath the roads, either on below footpaths or below roads or below median also. So roughly 27 to 30 utilities are there, and these utilities need to be constantly repaired or expanded, augmented. So for that you need to do trenching, and trenching kills the bituminous road because it gets water inside and the road surface goes damaged. So that is the reason we have concretized all the roads. But even after concretization, we need to cut the roads. Now, new roads, we have done this utility corridors inside the roads, but they are of certain diameter because there are limitations for that as well. However, we have come up with a new trenching policy, which will be released maybe once the standing committee approves it. So our target is by 1st September, we'll come up with the new trenching policy. And the policy is designed in such a way that the utilities will have this incentive to use our ducts. That is one thing. But all utilities can't go inside the duct. So you still will have to keep doing this trenching because telecom and other utilities don't need much this thing. But the old best electric utilities, gas utilities, they need repairs or augmentation. So that will go on, but we'll try to bring method in the madness, some systemization, proper trenching policy where everything will happen online without unnecessary human intervention, and things will be in. And we have also identified what are the problems in the current policy, which actually makes utility owners, keep the road shabby later on because there were too many players. So we are trying to remove all the bottlenecks in that policy and trying to systematize this process. So that will ensure better road quality. So expansion or the in network increase is a constraint, but we can improve the quality of road, which we have been doing. And because of the concretization, potholes have certainly gone down. This year, we have less number of potholes. Of course, there are certain areas where the bituminous stretches are there where you get, but for that also we have made a system where once the pothole is identified by our own people, in 24 hours it is taken care of. But potholes will still keep roads patchy. I mean, the quality of a road still remains a problem. So once all roads are concretized, that issue could be taken care of. Apart from that, as you mentioned, the infrastructure deficit as far as road is concerned, there is a constraint, as I said. So the rest of the deficit will have to be made up by the public transport only, and which will be taken care of by completion of the entire metro network, which is expected another 2-3 years, because most of the corridors are under construction and they need to connect with each other so that there is a network effect, and we can then have proper last mile connectivity. So traffic congestion through road network will be dealt with to a certain extent, but the rest of the traffic will have to move on public transport, which will be provided by the metro system. So that is it. I can talk about other infrastructure projects, but maybe we'll have more questions on that.
Ma'am, you were speaking about like infrastructure projects, and you have headed the metro and you executed the Mumbai Metro FY line among other lines. So till date, like you rightly pointed out, last mile connectivity still remains an issue, and we are seeing the public other modes of public transport is on the BST. The fleets are shrinking, and like many other Indian cities, be it Bangalore, be it Delhi, we are investing a lot on metros. So do you think like we are over investing in metros, and there is also a need to have bus networks and other modes of transport for the last mile connectivity? And another part of my question is around, what are we planning to do to better the last mile connectivity that we have in Mumbai right now?
I think we cannot say that there is an over investment in metro. That investment is absolutely required, but I can say that there is an under investment in buses or the last mile transport for last mile connectivity. But that doesn't negate the requirement of metro in cities, especially in mega cities like Mumbai, Delhi, even Bangalore, because metros will carry they will lift the heavy load. It's a mass rapid transit system, and the buses will have to take the role of the last mile connectivity. The problem with bus transport in all the cities is the size of the fleet. If we have optimum size of the fleet, then the buses can ply properly, buses can run properly, and they truly provide that last mile connectivity. Today, people criticize that metro is there, but last mile connectivity is not there. But why it is not there? Because who will provide the last mile connectivity? It has to be provided by buses, it has to be provided by autos, taxis, or the aggregator services which we have. And for that, necessary infrastructure is built. But the main role which the buses have to play in Mumbai, unfortunately, the bus fleet size is roughly 2,800, not more than that, while the city needs maybe 7,000 to 10,000 buses. And once that is done, then probably this issue would not be there. Now, BEST is also already working on a transformation plan. It is under in the process of going to cabinet, and the process is on. So once BEST can find a way to enhance their fleet size, then automatically the routing can be done taking the metro stations into account. And when metros are connected to each other, today's problem, even in metro, what happens, the stations are just 1 kilometer away from each other. So if you get down at a station and all 500 meters people do walk. I think Mumbai's the maximum trips are taken on foot. So people can walk that much. Now there are 2-3 problems. One is even these metros today are kind of in isolation because they are yet to get fully connected. Line 3 needs to get connected to line 2, line 7 and line 6. So that connectivity is still happening. Most line 2, line 7, line 3, all these corridors are kind of running in isolation. So that once that connectivity is there and the network impact effect comes, then probably people don't even need last mile connectivity at many locations. Some locations it will be needed because they can just get down and walk. Second problem is, of course, because we don't have space to walk, because our pedestrian infrastructure is very poor. Why poor? In some cases, footpaths are there, but they are occupied, they are encumbered, and at some locations, footpaths are not there. Even if they are there, people can't walk on it. So now we have already started that pedestrian first kind of initiative. and we will try to clear, and the priority is the station areas, metro station areas, so that will happen. But when we say last mile connectivity, it is not one simple thing, one linear thing. It is a mix of multiple things, the actions which are to be taken by different organizations, different authorities. People need to change their habit. Even if you put an auto stand there, or a taxi stand there, they have to find out that that much business happens there. Because when we did Metro 3, and Metro 3 is last mile connectivity, everywhere we set up auto stands, taxi stands. We wrote to those unions, we asked them, because these were the new stops for them. So it takes time. Everything, because things grow organically. On one day you start metro and every last mile connectivity doesn't come. It's a demand supply rule. As we start moving further, because all the economic activity also realigns along the metro corridor, and then slowly things happen. So when we talk about metro, they are the investment in future. This suburban line was made 150 years ago, and that's why today also we are using it and we are reaping the benefits. So right now we are investing in the future. As these lines, on Metro Line 3, there is this concept of TODs there, transit oriented development. So government is encouraging a huge development and huge densification around metro stations. So all these things will see result maybe another 5, 6 years, 10 years down the line, and these corridors will be jam packed again. So keeping that into account, mind, I think metro investments are absolutely must in our cities. Without that, it would be difficult, and last mile connectivity will improve as we move ahead.
We have spoken about waste also, like Mumbai's cleanliness, and after taking charge, you have taken the matter very seriously. And we have seen, like, over the past like 3-4 years, Mumbai's ranking in the national survey has, like, it has consistently slipped. Like even Navi Mumbai is like performing better than us, and Vishakhapatnam, Vijayawada, Indore is there. So, like, what are the mechanisms that are putting in place that can improve Mumbai's position in terms of cleanliness?
See, Mumbai is all about size. It is so huge, and the management of that size becomes an issue. We collect 7,000 metric ton of waste every day, 8,000 ton metric ton of construction and construction debris. So this is a huge number, and the challenge is to collect this every day, take it to the processing grounds wherever they are, and then ensure that nothing is left on the road or on the open spaces. But the challenge with us is 40% of our population is living in the slums. So today, and that population, the rest of the area, from everywhere, house to house collection happens, and we collect garbage and it goes to the processing facilities. But from slums, it becomes very difficult. We have been implementing various schemes to collect waste from each and every house of the slum and given to the collecting vehicle, but that is not happening. So what happens, because the problem is, these are not like organized households where if you go at 7 o'clock in the morning and they will put their dustbin outside. So they have their own ways of dealing with it. When the vehicle goes in the morning, it doesn't come, and throughout the day, whenever they get time, because people are working there, they have their own issues. So once that vehicle is left, then wherever there is a space, they will dump the garbage. So most of the times it is dumped in the nala, which is just next to that slum, and the rest of the areas, wherever there are open spaces, they dump that run. So the problem with us is that vehicle can take do one round. Some areas we are even putting another round in the evening, but throughout the city and in every area, we can't send a vehicle twice because there are logistic issues. That vehicle collects the waste, it goes to Kanjurmarg or whichever place, and from there also there is a queue that is to be that material is to be shifted, and then that vehicle comes back. So that becomes a big issue, and that's the reason this waste then lies there till the next day. That is collected. That is so that's why there are some garbage vulnerable points which we call GVPs. There are roughly 186 GVPs in Mumbai, and the similar number of around 200 odd hotspots which we call, they are there in Mumbai. So we have already inventorized these, and our attempt is to remove or eliminate these garbage vulnerable points as well as hotspots. But that's not an easy task. Maybe my team can go every day, clear it, but that waste is going to come there unless there is a structural shift and a way to collect waste from the slums every day. And that's a challenge. We are working out different things. We will soon be launching the old scheme of collecting by deploying NGOs. We used to collect the waste from. So that scheme we have redesigned and we are relaunching. We are using some technology also for that. In the process of developing an app because even if you allow NGOs to work, they deploy their own labor and they collect waste, but the accountability is not there. So today they deploy 10 people, but 2 only will go and collect. So we try to find out the structural lacunas in that scheme, and we are trying to revamp that. But that is something which is Mumbai's problem, and it needs to be dealt with patiently by going into the details and finding out solutions for each and every small piece. Third point is the waste generated by the commercial establishments. Many a time, the shopkeeper will open the door every day. He will clean. He throws the waste on the road. So some self-discipline will also be required by citizens. This waste municipal waste rules, which are published by central government, they clearly puts responsibility on the waste generator. So whoever is generating waste 150 kg or whatever, they have given certain criteria, but it is their responsibility to segregate it, to dispose it off also. Now it's difficult to force it and implement it in each and every section of the city. But if people follow even certain basic disciplines of not throwing or not littering, not throwing garbage on the road at public places, and keep it at their house, and wherever the vehicle comes, then give it to. Some basic rules are also followed. I think the city will be much cleaner. But BMC from its side are putting extra emphasis on cleanliness, and we are trying to bridge the structural gaps which are there in the system and trying to solve it.
But don't you think one of the larger issues is like too many agencies managing Mumbai?
But those agencies are managing Mumbai for certain issues. But the basic civic amenities, the main entity responsible is BMC only. There are SPAs, there are special planning authorities like MMRD is SPA, NOMHADA is SPA, SAR is SPA, but their role remains only up to creating that built up space. Once that space is created, the management of that area, providing services to that area is BMC's responsibility. Yes, it puts some pressure in the sense that BMC, when the development plan was prepared and the space utilization or the land use was defined, at that time all those issues, the new SPAs might not have been taken into account. But we always have the opportunity to make changes in development control regulations and get some facilities added. My own personal concern about this is because the road network, the width of the road network, because in 2034 DP, we had assumed that there would be FSI growth up to some limit, and everywhere this much of built up space will be created, and taking that into account, we had kept the road network. But then FSI, goes beyond that.
Yes.
No, base FSI is not that much, but slowly. But that has been there even because when the redevelopment schemes need more FSI, so there are more built up spaces, there are more, and in certain areas. So where I don't think our road network, the road width is matching that. So, but again, structurally being considering the linearity of the city, we don't have much scope also there, even if we had put more, increase the width. So again, public transport is the only solution to that, and somehow that will have to be propagated.
But on roads also, the entire network, you don't, manage, right? There is PWD,
Yeah.
What is that?
There is, but
MSRDC?
slowly that number is going down. Now MSRDC has handed over many of their flyovers to us. MMRDA also completing the like Eastern Freeway. Earlier they used to manage. Now it has come to BMC. So as far as construction is concerned, yes, some other agencies are there, but finally everything comes to the roads are handed over to BMC and they have to manage, and that is the way to go, because you can't have multiple municipal bodies. Municipal body remains the same, and the basic function of the municipal body only BMC can deliver and nobody else.
What is your personal view on just having one unified metropolitan authority? Do you think, let's say, even if it's a utopian concept, but do you think it will ensure greater accountability as opposed to having several authorities looking at, different aspects of development in the city?
See, there are number of authorities, but they have specific jobs. It's not that they are they are overlapping each other, or the duties are common, and all different authorities are doing the same job. No, if you look at MHADA, their role is mainly the housing and the area development wherever their colonies are there. If you look at MMRD is a regional planning authority and the regional development authority. So BMC jurisdiction only is in the Greater Mumbai area. But when you think of Mumbai, we have to think of MMR, because there are total 19 urban local bodies in MMR. And all those 18, barring BMC, all those 18 are again, they are very connected to Mumbai, because people every day they travel to Mumbai for their livelihood and then they go back. So all their functions are interdependent and coordinated. So that is why you need to have somebody who looks after the requirement of that region. So that role of MMRDA is the core role. If you look at MSRDC, it is a state road development corporation. So they are supposed to develop the roads, and in the initial phase, like some big roads where the municipal body didn't have that kind of wherewithal to take up those kinds of road, the Bandravarli ceiling or some tunnel project. So that time the specialized agencies were supposed to do this road. Where that overlapping or mixing has happened is only where they have taken the role of SPA, that is the Special Planning Authority. If as far as their core role is concerned, that is distinctive, that is independent of each other, and that is very much required. Earlier, when MHADA used to develop their own colonies under Section 33(5), the SPA was BMC only.
Yeah.
MHADA was the colonies belong to them, but the development plan would be approved by BMC. But government, in their wisdom, they thought, because it takes a lot of time, the compliance of documents, exchange of documents between two authorities. So government, in its wisdom, they thought MHADA should be SPA for their own colonies, and only in those colonies MHADA is responsible, not otherwise. Similarly, SRA is a slum rehabilitation. The schemes are of special nature, and where some special approvals are also required, and there is a special authority, the Slum Rehabilitation Authority. So only for the slum schemes, SRA is the authority. So even if there are multiple agencies, they don't work in each other's jurisdiction. They have their own defined areas and where they work. The only difference which I have already said is which authority is responsible for providing civic amenities. So even if SRA redevelops the slum, but the responsibility of providing sewer network, providing water network, collecting the solid waste management, that is municipal corporation's responsibility. So the underlying responsibility is only with one authority. But as far as constructing new built-up area is concerned, then there are authorities, but they have limited jurisdiction. So ideally, yes, there should be one body, but we have legacy issues and we have multiple bodies. Now, the best way is to have some kind of arrangement where all these bodies come together and decide, which government has made. There are multiple committees. For example, if a cluster is to be developed either under SRA or MHADA or even BMC, then for that there is a committee under municipal commissioner. So all those clusters, and that other heads of other organizations are member of that committee. So when such cluster comes, then all these issues are discussed. Without their approval, the proposal doesn't move further. So government has created these kinds of mechanisms where the heads of these bodies, they come together, they debate, and then only projects are approved.
These are mainly state bodies, but there is railway, there is port authority. So that also is an issue, right?
Yeah.
Because
But there you can't have, I mean, only the municipal body, one body can't take that responsibility. Because these are specialized functions, specialized activity. Operating a railway is a very specialized technical.
the land ownership.
Land ownership, yes, but the land ownership is with them, and the lands are they have their operations. Question comes where the lands which they own are not used for their operations but for other purposes, and there if the local body doesn't have a say, then it becomes a problem. As far as their operations are concerned, there is no issue because they are free to do that. But many central bodies have lands which are encroached upon, where there are slums, where there are encumbrances, and they don't have any policy to deal with those encumbrances. But BMC has to provide them services. Then there are encroachments. Those lands are again some hilly areas where sometimes landslide happens. So these issues are there. But but multiple agencies is not an issue, not a problem, or not the reason for that problem. The problem is something else. Problem is these agencies not being able to protect their own lands. That mechanism is not there, and the city is continuously receiving people without having adequate formal housing. So that's the problem. Now, if you have to solve the problem, then probably everyone will have to be together. We have to take some hard and harsh decisions, and then only the situation there will improve.
But as a BMC commissioner, you would support this port land to be handed over to the BMC or for the housing, especially huge land. PPT and MPT is sitting over,
No, they see. Finally, they are the landowners. Now the issue is who will be SPA, who will decide, who will have the planning control. So as landowners, they have all the right to develop those lands. If they want to become SPA and take responsibility, fine. But then they will have to adopt the development control regulations for BMC. They will have to adopt the practices which we follow as far as reservations are concerned, as far as open spaces are concerned. So probably even, I mean, there is no, in my view, as a urban practitioner and somebody who has worked in urban area for a long time, there should not be multiple SPAs for the simple reason that we need to have some kind of a discipline standardization, and that discipline and standardization comes after practice of a certain number of years. So even BMC has been continuously learning as far as their own development regulations are concerned. The practices which they follow, the concept of auto DCR came from that. The further, because if you have all those legacy data, then you know how to deal with the situation. But when the new SPAs come, they don't have that legacy information. They don't have that legacy, the institutional memory, because they are the new organizations. And at times, mistakes could be committed. At times, some shortcomings could be there. So, any landowner, I mean, that is what we have been writing to government also. Anybody can take up the project. They can being the landowner or being a coordinator. They can always do, but BMC should be SPA. That's the whole idea. However, government also has its own constraints, and they have to take certain decisions. Despite that, how we can have better coordination among agencies, that's what we need to decide, and that's what we are trying to work on also.
On this issue of, since we're in monsoons, in 2005 when Mumbai was flooded, one of the most important factor the state government and the civic body identified was a lack of storm water drainage, and the
Brimstone, yeah.
100,000 the project was sanctioned. Now, since that, and now in 2026, when you have come up with a very comprehensive flood mitigation plans with the help of state government, So, what are the key challenges and how different or how challenging it is now when it comes to flood mitigation? Because even the climatic challenges are different. The intensity of the rain also,
Yeah.
has, all those factors are there. So, you can.
I think compared to 2005, we are far, far better prepared now because multiple measures have been taken. But the challenge of climate change and erratic weather and extreme weather events, that is still looming, and that is what is different than what it was earlier. But otherwise, our Brimstone project is almost completed. Though that time we had identified certain augmentation of the stormwater drain which was required, but what we have done, our capacity is 55 millimeter rainfall in an hour. Whereas a normal course, if that kind of it does a phenomenal job, because even if you this year also, when the rains are even if it is raining throughout the day, but if the rains are under control, then our stormwater drain network is absolutely fine, and it takes care of that. There you don't find any waterlogging happening. But when the rainfall increases and there are at least certain number of days where you get more than 100 mm, more than 200 mm, sometimes even close to 300 mm rainfall in a short span of time in certain locations, and if they are low-lying areas, then this network of ours is doesn't remain adequate. Plus, we have the tidal impact, and in the event of high tide and extreme weather or extreme rainfall, then certain areas of the city get flooded. Maybe we can't, but for the sake of that, we can't expand our network, to take care of the extreme weather events, because that will be too expensive and that will be too burdensome as far as the land availability is concerned. So, what we have to do is we have to find ways to deal with these situations which when the extreme weather event occurs, and they will be only few hours or a certain number of days in a year. And that is why BMC has done these underground tanks where we can at least store water for some time. We can identify that which areas are going to get waterlogged, so you ensure that people don't move in that area. That area is blocked, traffic is rerouted, and then maybe we can still find ways where there would still be some holding areas where water could be retained, and people there is no damage on account of the flood. So that is what we are trying to do for past many years, and that's the reason maybe only barring a day or two, our railway tracks don't go underwater, because they have also increased their height, and we have made joint efforts to clean all the nalas and water channels. But in addition to that, we have already worked on a complete urban flood mitigation plan, which is submitted to central government, and under National Disaster Relief Fund, it is getting funded. In that, we are what we are doing is two more. We will augment the capacity of our existing pumping stations, because today we have 6 major pumping stations, 10 mini pumping stations. Apart from that, during monsoon, BMC itself puts roughly 500 to 600 pumps, and other agencies also put. So, city has almost close to 900 to 1000 pumps working during monsoon.
And where do they pump?
No, they pump out, because some areas are low lying. So there is a water outlet, but on its own it can't go. So there you have to pump
We
it out.
transfer flooding from this area.
No, it doesn't. It goes in the water channel. It doesn't flood. It goes in the proper water channel, but you have to pump it out and throw it.
रेल्वेचं बाहेर बीएमसी रोडवर तरी पाणी सोडतात.
ते आता पण त्याच्यात खूप कोऑर्डिनेशन चालू आहे. काही वेळेला काय होतं, नाईलाज होतो. म्हणजे एखाद्या ठिकाणी इतकं पाणी साठतं की तुम्हाला ते सोडावं लागतं, आणि काही ठिकाणी आपलं तिथंच नेमकं वॉटर चॅनल नसतं. सेकंड इज प्रॉबेबली इवन इफ आफ्टर डुईंग ब्रिम्स्टोवॅड वी नीड टू augment the SWD network in certain areas. We have to do capacity augmentation. We have to lay down more. So all those things we have taken into that program, and that's a continuous and ongoing program which we do, because everywhere you can't cut open the road and start immediately augmenting it. As and when we get opportunity, we keep on doing that. So that happens, but we are far better prepared for flood now, and going forward we will be more prepared, because the most important thing is getting early warning, getting to know where exactly, when exactly such kind of weather event is occurring and which area is getting affected. So since yes, last year and this year also we have been doing it very effectively. IIT helps us by using some algorithms, using the rain data and the which we receive from IMD and other sources. That which for 3 days data they give us almost every day, and that which area will get extreme rain and flood. So IMD gives the overall citywide this prediction, but basis that IIT gives us very localized prediction, and this works well because then we ensure that the pumps are working. Traffic police are already taken into confidence, and the rerouting is done. This time we did that. Plus all our pumps which we have put, the main pumping stations and mini pumping stations has SCADA system, so it is automated. But even the regular pumps, temporary pumps which we install during monsoon, they have all are fitted with IoT devices and the sensors, so which we could monitor from our control room and whether that pump is on or not. So some of these measures and the infusion of technology would make us better prepared to deal with these situations, because we can't wish them away. These are this, and Mumbai has the structural issues, so we can't change the nature of the city. But at the same time, we have to deal with such events where extreme rainfall gets coupled with the high tide. And another thing is, of course, the waterways, because we have city has full underground SWD network. Very arched drains are there, and that's not a problem. And their outfalls are in the sea, which needs to be kept clean. But suburbs has a natural nala system. So eastern nala system, western nala system they have, and there are certain specific nalas which finally go into the sea and into certain rivers, that Dahisar river, Poisar river, Mithi river. So those what we need to do, and we have been working as part that that nala system functions seamlessly without any obstruction. And there are certain obstructions, of course, because most of those nalas are on both sides, there are slums and they keep throwing things. So now that problem we are trying to resolve. Either many of these slums are going for redevelopment, that is one thing. But wherever we get an opportunity, put a net to that area. Some areas we did, and those nalas are quite relatively cleaner. Plus this trash booms also we need to, in a series of trash booms we need to put, so that garbage, the floating material is collected before that nala flows in the sea. So there are multiple measures we need to take, and BMC has been continuously working. In certain areas situation has improved, but the new problems crop up which we need to deal with.
Another anxiety that a lot of people have these days is the coming up of data centers also. Like
Mhm.
the city which is trained on resources. Just wanted to understand, ma'am, what kind of water goes into these data centers, and a lot of common people they have कि पानी कहाँ से आ रहा है. So if you could just
या पानी पे मैं और 2-3 चीजें बताऊंगी. Data centers, the government has this green data center policy, which kind of mandates them to use recycled water. And many data centers, especially which are coming in the New Mumbai and that area, CIDCO has, and Navi Mumbai Corporation also has water treatment plants, the tertiary treated water. Then the data centers, I mean, at least that these are the plans, because I used to monitor them from CMO. So that is further treated. It is called advanced tertiary treatment, and that water becomes potable. And they need even further some other treatments which is required for the data centers, which they do. So these data centers, not necessarily they get the potable water. So this is the recycled water which they need to use. As far as they are guzzlers of energy also, so for that also they need to buy or generate green energy. And that's the policy state government has. So as far as data centers are concerned, yes, they need water and they need energy, but both of them, they don't rely only on the water which is provided by municipal corporation. Even in Mumbai, 7 sewage treatment plants of BMC are under construction, and they will get commissioned, some by this December, some by next December. So by 2027, almost all of these STPs will be completed. Mumbai needs 4,100 MLD of water every day, and out of that 2,400 MLD is converted into sewage. So that 2,400 MLD till date, we used to make some treat them at secondary treatment, and it used to get released in the sea. But now, because of these STPs, these 2,400 MLD water will be treated, the primary treatment, secondary treatment, and even tertiary treatment. So through tertiary treatment, we'll get 1,200 liters of water which could be reused in the city for non-potable use. Even that water can go to data center, that water can be used by many organizations who need non-potable use, and even our households also. But for that we need different plumbing systems and all, which will maybe come later on. But the bulk users can use it. And out of that 1,200 MLD water, we have plans and we have already initiated 500 would go for advanced tertiary treatment, which could be which we can use for a potable usage also. So because without recycling, it would be very difficult to give enough water to cities going forward, and that has to be followed by all the urban centers now in future. So recycling is must. Otherwise, from where? Because the city's need of water is going to increase every day. In Mumbai, we provide some 135 LPCD per family. For slums, it is 55 LPCD, and in some areas, it even goes more than 200 because the demands are much higher. The distribution is not that equitable. But still, today, our demand is 4,600 MLD, and we are providing 4,100 MLD. Going forward, by 2030, we would need more than 6,000 MLD. So, from where this water would come?
That brings me to the converse question.
Hmm.
We are very monsoon dependent
Yes.
today.
Yes.
Any plan in case the monsoon fails? And it can happen. Look at Europe today.
No, see, there are one thing which if monsoon fails, then we need to use the seawater.
That takes time.
Yeah. So we are, but that is not adequate. We can't make the potable water from sea at the same cost. It will, the desal plants. BMC has started working on the first desalination plant of 200 MLD, but that costs, the costs are very high. We will do another 200 and another 200. So maybe 600 MLD we'll get from desalination plants. We have already started working on one project, Gargai, which is another 450 MLD. So this will bring us 1000 MLD, but that is also not adequate. So we need to recycle the water, reuse the water, and that is why this 1200 MLD, which we will get from tertiary treatment of this STPs, will come very handy. And going forward, we need, and because the technology has improved so much now that the recycled water, and Singapore does that.
Yes.
Every drop of water is recycled. Israel does it. Israel, of course, does it. So it's not that difficult. The only thing is we need to change our mindset. We need to make some infrastructural changes also, because today the BMC water supply is designed in a particular way. We get water from 7 different dams. It comes through gravity. Then some dams are close by, but some are 150 kilometers away. Most of them, almost 4-5 dams are. So from there the water comes, it is lifted at a particular, that Pise Panjrapur and this thing. Then it is treated there. Then again Bhandup it is treated. Then it goes to some elevated reservoirs from where it goes by gravity to different locations. Now when you get this STP water, how will that system work? So for that, what we are doing is, from the specific STPs, we are building underground tunnels. So through those tunnels, the water would reach our Bhandup location, and from there, in the same system, it will be circulated. But for some which is not for potable, that we can't bring in that system. So for that, it will need to go to a certain location from where we can give bulk supply. But in future, as you said, if the monsoons are badly impacted or whatever, and then we have to focus, we have to reuse every single drop of water. And for that, we may need to make some changes in our whole infrastructure. But I that's a thing of future. Today, what we need to think is how to bridge the gap between the water, the demand and supply, and how we can get that water. Another thing is the wastage. We need to control the wastage. Even in Mumbai today, 38% is NRW, that is non-revenue water. It means that water is not built, because that water is either there is a theft or there is a leakage. So theft you can still find out and control, and as our slums get more and more developed, probably that theft issue will go down, because not because people want to steal and they do that theft, but because the problem there is no way, only there is no space for giving house to house connections, and that's why the problem is there. And because of the transmission losses, the problems in the tertiary network, there is leakage also. So we need to control that. So every drop of water will have to be used very wisely, very prudently going forward.
Going back to the data center question, uh, a lot of cities outside India which are protesting against data centers, where studies have been conducted, say that the issue of water is not such a big concern. The bigger concern is the fact of the increase in ambient temperature that happens and the massive noise those systems generate. Now here, I know it is not under your ambit, but say in Navi Mumbai, we have high rises that are being sold on the basic premise that Amazon is coming next to your doorstep. Now, the livability of that particular place, I mean, we can just imagine what happens in 5 years down the line. So, as I know you are not in charge of that, but as a technocrat, I mean, do you think there is a need for the government to have some kind of policy on how we are making these data centers right in the middle of cities?
No, I think livability of a city is dependent on many issues. Data center, why Mumbai is attracting so many data centers? Because it has the marine cables. Mumbai is ideally located. The marine cables which come beneath the sea from various locations. So they are at Mumbai and they are at Chennai. And now Hyderabad, Amravati, they are trying to get it from Singapore. So that is the reason Mumbai has so many data centers. So it is the necessity, it is the structural requirement of those centers, and that's why Mumbai attracts. Now, yes, we later on we may need to, if that creates some livability issues or some other inconveniences or some nuisances, then those will have to be handled, those will be tackled. You can't say that data centers should not be there, because where will they go? We have to coexist. We have to draw boundaries between the habitable areas, and because it is like industry. Any industry, it's an industry. So industrial places are there close to the residential areas. Then there is some kind of a conflict which is tackled, which is addressed, and there are ways of addressing them. So we can't just in one color we can't paint that problem. It is not a problem. It's a business. It generates jobs. It generates and it creates an ecosystem which actually trigger further development. But if it has certain problems for local areas, then they need to be looked into. They need to be solved. Regulations will have to be put in place to ensure that.
No, right now in Mumbai, we are seeing a lot of redevelopment going on. Private properties are being redeveloped,
Yeah.
towers. So most of this is happening in the suburbs. I mean, in the city, it is not happening as much south of Girgaon. So is it because of the FSI restrictions, or what is the reason?
Nothing of that, sir. Slowly they will come, because finally redevelopment is a economic activity, and the function of profitability also. So which scheme would come? Because our scheme of things, it's we have guaranteed free housing for a lot of people, which is not there in other cities. And so so the thing is, no, even for such buildings there is a free housing. So now once you give a house free, then it needs to be compensated by somebody. So that is where the cell component comes. And even in suburbs where 3312B, where they don't get a double area or something, but 15-20% increase they also get, and the house is free. So in that So naturally, this has to be paid by somebody. This has to be compensated somewhere. So what happens? Even the city also has redevelopment potential, but all the developers also weigh their options, which is then where if it is started now, then it is financially viable, because the viability is the main issue. And in some areas there are height restrictions. In some areas there are land becomes an issue. In South Mumbai, those which are cess property, they are getting redeveloped. The property which are the tenanted properties, especially BMC's estate lease, they are getting redeveloped. But the private properties, private areas, naturally they will weigh their options. If today the building is in good condition, nobody will go for redevelopment. Another thing is, many of the buildings in South Mumbai, they are on the government's leased property.
Yeah.
And they are class 2 title. You have to convert it into a class 1 title also, they have to pay the money to government. So whether if it is viable to go for redevelopment, so they must be weighing their option, and then it becomes essential that now the building can't take that load and it needs to be redeveloped. That time they will go for redevelopment. So there is no restriction of FSI or anything.
पालिकेचे आता एवढे सगळे प्रकल्प तुम्ही सांगितले, पण या सगळ्याचा खर्चाचा ताळेबंद पालिका कसं सांगते?
पालिका सांभाळते, कारण पालिकेचं आता आपण जर बघितलं तर बजेट आमचं जवळजवळ 80,000 कोटीचं आहे. पालिकेला काही सोर्सेसमधून, म्हणजे एक GST वरचा जो आपल्याला सपोर्ट मिळतो तो एक आमचा मेजर सोर्स आहे. बिल्डिंग प्रपोजल्स आपण जेवढी करतो त्याच्यावर मिळणारा प्रीमियम हा आमचा दुसरा मेजर सोर्स आहे. तिसरा मेजर सोर्स हा प्रॉपर्टी टॅक्स आहे. आणि ह्याच्याशिवाय इतर वेगळ्या वेगळ्या सोर्सेसमधून आपल्याला पैसे मिळतात. त्यामुळे पालिकेचं बजेट करत असताना आपण आपला रेव्हेन्यू हे किती आहे, म्हणजे रेव्हेन्यू इन्कम किती आहे, रेव्हेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर जो आमचा डे टू डे आमच्या कामासाठी लागणारा तो आहे, आणि त्याचा जो गॅप असतो म्हणजे तो आपण कॅपिटल एक्सपेंडिचरसाठी ठेवतो. तो जनरली रेव्हेन्यू आणि कॅपिटलच्या मध्ये, आणि रेव्हेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर कमी राहतं, कारण आपलं वेगळ्या वेगळ्या ह्याच्या, आणि ते कमी ठेवणंही अपेक्षित असतं, कारण आपल्याला साधारण 35-40% शिवाय पेक्षा जास्त रेव्हेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर असू नये. असा एक तेवढं होत नाही, ते 50-52% जातं. पण उरलेला जो आहे तो आमचा रेव्हेन्यू सरप्लस आहे, जो कॅपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर मध्ये जातो. आता आणि आतापर्यंत तिथे कुठे इश्यूही नव्हता. आता पालिकेने घेतलेले जे मोठे प्रोजेक्ट आहेत, एक त्यातला STP आहे आणि दुसरा नॉर्थ कोस्टल रोड आहे, आणि काही मेजर म्हणजे GMLR असेल किंवा असे काही प्रोजेक्ट्स आहेत. त्याची जर हे धरली तर सध्या आम्हाला वी हॅव टू डिप इन टू अवर रिझर्व्स. पण ते रिझर्व्ह सुद्धा आपले बेसिक रिझर्व्ह जे आमच्या पेन्शन आणि ह्याचे असतात ते आम्हाला ठेवावेच लागतात, ते काढू शकत नाही आपण. आणि उरलेल्या रिझर्व्हमधनं आम्ही आता तात्पुरते पैसे घेणार. परंतु दीज प्रोजेक्ट्स आर इसेन्शियल ऑल्सो, कारण STPचे प्रोजेक्ट खरं तर केव्हाच व्हायला पाहिजे होते. आतापर्यंतच आपण म्हणजे हे एवढं सगळं सुवेज ट्रीट करूनच वापरायला पाहिजे होतं. त्यातनं आपल्याला पाणीही परत मिळणार आहे, जे आपला दुसरीकडचा एक कॅपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर आपला कमी करणार. त्यामुळे आत्ताचे प्रोजेक्ट आपल्याला आपल्या म्युन्सिपल कॉर्पोरेशनच्याच ह्याच्यामध्ये आपल्याला करता येतील. पुढचे 3 ते 4 वर्ष आपल्यावरती ताण राहील थोडासा, पण त्याच्यानंतर पुन्हा आपण पूर्ववत स्थितीमध्ये येऊ. आता हा मधला थोडा गॅप भरून काढण्यासाठी आपल्याला 2-3 प्रकारे आम्ही वी आर रेझिंग द ग्रीन बॉन्ड्स मार्केटमध्ये जातोय आपण, डिसेंबरपर्यंत वगैरे आणण्याचा प्रयत्न करतोय. आणि त्याच्याशिवाय काही ठिकाणी आपल्याला जर आवश्यकता वाटली तर आपण बॉरोईंग करू शकतो, डोमेस्टिक बॉरोईंग करू शकतो, किंवा जे मल्टीलॅटरल फंडिंग एजन्सीचं बॉरोईंग आहे ते करू शकतो. पण दॅट कॉल विल टेक इफ वी रिअली नीड दॅट काइंड ऑफ गॅप फिलिंग. Otherwise, we are quite adequately equipped to deal with this.
त्याच प्रश्नाला एक जोडून तुम्ही मागे म्हणाला होतात की काही प्रोजेक्टचं प्रायोरिटाईज ठरवावे लागेल, कारण अनेक असे प्रोजेक्ट्स आहेत की जे विनाकारण अनावश्यक घेतले गेले. तर तुम्हाला आता सध्या असलेल्या प्रोजेक्ट्स पैकी असे कुठले वाटतात का, किंवा तुमची प्रायोरिटी कुठल्या प्रोजेक्ट्सचा असते?
ऍक्च्युली फ्रँकली स्पीकिंग कॉर्पोरेशनमध्ये सगळ्याच प्रोजेक्टची आवश्यकता आहे, फक्त द टायमिंग इज अन इश्यू. आता मधल्या काळात जे प्रोजेक्ट घेतले गेले त्यात हेल्थ इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर इम्प्रूव्ह करण्यासाठी खूप प्रोजेक्ट झाले आपल्याकडे, म्हणजे पण ती गरजेचे पण आहे. आता हॉस्पिटल्स आहेत, त्यांच्या जुन्या इमारती आहेत, दे आर ऑलरेडी ओव्हरफ्लोईंग. त्यामुळं तुम्ही सायन हॉस्पिटल असेल, राजावाडी आहे, किंवा KEMला सुद्धा इम्प्रूव्हमेंट करण्याची गरज आहे. इतर अनेक ठिकाणी आपण बांधल्या. आता कधी एखाद्या असं वाटू शकतं की हा प्रायोरिटीमध्ये होता का, पण ते एव्हरीथिंग इज इन प्रायोरिटी फॉर कारण सगळ्याच सेक्टरमध्ये आपल्याला इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर ऑगमेंट करावं लागतं. आता असा प्रश्न येऊ शकतो की कोस्टल रोड मग BMCने करायचा का अजून कोणी करायचा, तो मल्टीलॅटरल फंडिंग एजन्सीचं लोन घेऊन करता आला असता का. पण या सगळ्याचे प्रॉज अँड कॉन्स दोन्हीचे पण आहेत. त्यामुळं आत्ताच्या स्थितीत जे प्रोजेक्ट आपण करतोय ते सगळं इसेन्शियल आहे, त्याच्यात काही शंकाच नाही. परंतु एका वेळेला सगळे घ्यायचे का गोईंग फॉरवर्ड एक ठराविक घेऊन आधी त्याच्यावर फोकस करून ते पूर्ण करायचे, हे मात्र आपल्याला भविष्यामध्ये ठरवावं लागणार आहे. सो कारण तुम्ही जेव्हा खूपच गोष्टी ठरवून एका वेळेला करता तेव्हा इम्प्लिमेंटेशन रिमेन्स चॅलेंजिंग, सगळ्यावर फोकस होत नाही आणि त्यामुळे मग काही प्रोजेक्ट डिले होऊ शकतात आणि देन दे कॉस्ट मोर. पण तेच जर तुम्ही एकदा प्रोजेक्ट पूर्ण झाल्यानंतर दरवेळेला प्रायोरिटी ठरवून प्रोजेक्ट घेतले आणि आता तुम्ही बघितलं असेल तर गेल्या 4-5 महिन्यामध्ये आम्ही कुठलेही नवीन मेजर प्रोजेक्ट घेतले नाही आणि ते लगेच घेणारी नाही. आता आम्ही पुढच्या काळात घेण्यासाठीचं प्लॅनिंग आमचं चाललंय आणि त्याच्यामध्ये सुद्धा सगळ्यात जास्त प्रायोरिटीचे कुठले आहेत. आता आम्हाला रोड नेटवर्क जे बॅलन्स आहे ते पूर्ण करणं इसेन्शियल आहे, कारण ते नाही केलं तर मग पॉटहोलचा प्रश्न 100% सुटत नाही. त्यामुळे तो आम्ही पहिल्यांदा घेणार. आमचे पाण्याचे जे रिलेटेड आहेत, हे आता जे भांडूपपर्यंत मी आणलं तर त्या भांडूपला जे पाणी येणार आहे त्याचे सगळे आधीच्या काळात झाले, तर त्याच्यावर जे ॲडिशनल टर्शरी प्लांट करायचा आहे तो आम्हाला घ्यावा लागेल. कोलाबामध्ये आपली एक 12 MLD ची अशी STP फॅसिलिटी आहे, तिथे टर्चरी वॉटर होतं, त्याच्यावरही आम्हाला ॲडिशनल टर्चरी करायचं आहे. तर असे काही इसेन्शियल प्रोजेक्ट घेऊ, पण गोईंग फॉरवर्ड आमचा म्हणजे कॉर्पोरेशनचा फोकस हा ठराविक प्रोजेक्ट घेणं, ते वेळेमध्ये कम्प्लीट करणं अँड देन टेक द नेक्स्ट बॅच ऑफ प्रोजेक्ट्स असं राहील.
With all of these projects, we are generating also a large quantum of CND waste, which you mentioned earlier. The quantum is much larger than the SWM waste that we are generating on a daily basis. So, is the city really equipped to handle? Because right now, our plants only have a capacity of say 1200, if I'm not wrong. How do we bridge that?
Also,
Yes.
Just double it up. Like right now, do we have enough infrastructure to handle the density that is in Kannada, the density of people that we have right now?
I think first question, as I said, we generate almost 8,000 metric ton of CND waste every day. And BMC themselves have set up plants up to say 1,200 metric ton. But till date, the waste is carried out. It is probably part of it is thrown in some areas because where there are old quarries or government lands. But that now needs to be streamlined. And again, CND waste rules are already published by Government of India and we are strictly following them. So what we need is, there also we need to do a lot of recycling. That is the first and foremost thing. Because that waste, certain part of it, maybe it is reusable. Sometimes even the CND waste gets mixed. Wood is also there. This plaster of Paris POP is also there because all those false ceiling material which we do, and then the stone is also there, brick is also there. So there we need to there has to be facilities where we can segregate some of them, we can reuse some of them, and some of these materials can go back into again another construction material. So these any problem actually leads to new inventions and new systems. So CND waste, right now what BMC has done, we have published our bylaws. We have also prepared a portal, the Malba on the lines of Malba portal of Delhi. So that portal, and we will be again, we have just presented it to being presented to corporation, and we'll release it. So there we have linked it to all our auto DCR record. So all the developers will have to show on that, and we can, because they are on auto DCR, so we know. So they have to show that how much CND waste is getting generated by demolition and all, and where exactly and how they are disposing. And that even the trucks will have that VTMS system, so we'll monitor that, and which we have done for our desilting project. So this will be done. So these systems, today there is no one-stop solution. We have to come up with proper solutions, but we have made a good beginning. And that portal, and for that we have done a lot of consultation with many of these people, all the developers, the transporters. There are some people who are already into recycling. Then there are many innovators, many young people come with many solutions. So probably this data could be easily made available to them, and they come up with various solutions. So CND waste is a new phenomenon which need to be dealt with very scientifically and properly within the framework of rules and bylaws. Yes, please.
2 वर्षापूर्वी आपली मुंबई महानगरपालिकेच्या रुग्णालयांमध्ये 0 प्रिस्क्रिप्शन पॉलिसी लागू करण्याचा निर्णय घेण्यात आला होता. नागरिकांच्या फार जवळचा विषय. पण अद्यापही त्याची अंमलबजावणी झालेली नाही. तुम्ही त्या संदर्भात काय?
नाही, आत्ता मला त्याच्याबद्दल नाही सांगता येणार काही, कारण मी स्वतः पण नाही बघितलंय. बट वी आर सर्टनली वर्किंग ऑन दॅट. दीज आर म्हणजे BMC मध्ये एक आहे की प्रायमरी हेल्थवरती वी आर रिफोकसिंग. सिन्स आय जॉईंड, मी पहिल्या दिवशी सांगितलं होतं की वी हॅव टू गो बॅक टू बेसिक्स. कारण आपल्या जे मेन फंक्शन्स आहेत म्हणजे क्लिनलीनेस आहे, चांगलं पाणी देणं आहे, चांगले रस्ते आणि फुटपाथ देणं आहे आणि बेसिक प्रायमरी हेल्थ. आता त्याच्यावरती पुष्कळ नवीन गोष्टी झाल्यात. म्हणजे आपली पेरिफेरल हॉस्पिटल म्हणजे डिस्पेन्सरीज, इतर अनेक सेंटर्स किंवा आता बाळासाहेब ठाकरे दवाखाना असेल, ह्यांची संख्या वाढल्यामुळं आपला त्याचा स्प्रेड वाढलाय. आपण खूप अनेक वस्त्यांमध्ये गेलोय. परंतु आता तिथल्या सिस्टीम इम्प्रूव्ह करणं, तिथे जिथे झिरो प्रिस्क्रिप्शन पॉलिसी असेल किंवा डायग्नोस्टिक सर्व्हिसेस असतील, म्हणजे तसं बघितलं तर BMC खूप देतं. ऑलरेडी BMCच्या खूप सिस्टीम्स आहेत. पण त्याच्यामध्ये कुठेतरी एक कोहेसिव्हनेस आणणं, त्याच्यामध्ये एकाच, आणि ह्याच्यासाठी आमची नवीन हेल्थ पॉलिसी येऊ घातली आहे. हेल्थमध्ये काय रिफॉर्म्सची गरज आहे त्याच्यावर ऑलरेडी टीम इज वर्किंग ऑन इट. आणि ह्या सगळ्याचं एक कनेक्शन असणं फार गरजेचं आहे, प्रायमरी, सेकंडरी आणि टर्शरी. आणि बऱ्याच वेळेला असं होतं की इव्हन लोकप्रतिनिधी, कारण प्रत्येकाचेच ॲस्पिरेशन्स असतात. त्यामुळे मग प्रत्येकाला आपल्या एरियामध्ये एक मोठं डायग्नोस्टिक सेंटर हवं असतं. अगदी कॅन्सरची ट्रीटमेंट पण तिथेच हवी असते. आणि काही वेळेला मग आमचा थोडासा असा तो प्रायोरिटीचा इम्बॅलन्स होतो. पण वी आर ट्राईंग टू एज्युकेट देम ऑल्सो की आपला पहिला फोकस हा ह्याच्यावर असला पाहिजे. आणि एकदा प्रायमरी हेल्थ सिस्टीम आपली इम्प्रूव्ह झाली की कदाचित सेकंडरी आणि टर्शरीवरचा लोड सुद्धा कमी होईल. आणि आज जर बघितलं तर आमच्या मोठ्या हॉस्पिटल्समध्ये 30-40% लोड हा बाहेरून येतो, मुंबई बाहेरून येणाऱ्या पेशंटचा. म्हणजे 2-2 कोटीची आमची वर्षभराची OPD होते. पण त्याच्यामध्ये महाराष्ट्रातले, म्हणजे मुंबई बाहेरचे महाराष्ट्रातले आणि मुंबई बाहेरचे देशातले. कारण काय, द काइंड ऑफ सर्व्हिसेस आवर हॉस्पिटल्स प्रोव्हाइड, म्हणजे ज्या रेटमध्ये, ती इतरत्र कुठेच नाहीये. त्यामुळं ते येतात. पण इट्स अ व्हेरी ओव्हरवेल्मिंग सिस्टीम, ज्याला म्हणजे एक परत सोल्युशन आहे. आम्ही त्याला शोधायला जरी बसलो तरी एकात तर ते कांद्याचे हे उकलवावेत तसे नवीन नवीन पदर येतात त्याला. पण वी आर वर्किंग ऑन. आता त्याच्यात एकच आहे की एक ओव्हरव्ह्यू घेणं, म्हणजे तुम्ही पहिल्यांदा काय सुधारणा हव्यात ते बघणं आणि मग एक त्यातनं सोडवत जाणं, असं थोडंसं ठेवलं.
Zishan sir is there.
हां.
75,000 कोटीचे FD असताना कर्जाला उभं पैसा उभा करण्यात रुखेल पण पैसा
नाही, असं नाहीये. FD जरी असल्या ना तरी त्या FD सगळ्या वापरता येत नाहीत आपल्याला. त्यातल्या 40-50 हजार कोटीच्या FD आपल्याला तशाच रिटेन कराव्या लागतात. कारण दॅट इज द पेन्शन मनी, दॅट इज अदर आमचे जे देणी आहेत त्याला आपल्याला ते कायद्यानेच आम्हाला त्याला टच नाही करता येत BMCच्या ऍक्टमध्ये. त्यामुळे जो राहतो आपल्याला युजेबल सरप्लस जो आहे ना, तेवढाच आपण यूज करतो. आणि तो यूज करत असताना सुद्धा काही वेळेला असं असतं की आपल्याला जर त्याच्याही पेक्षा कमी रेटने काही बाहेरून मिळतंय का, कारण शेवटी जर मला मल्टीलॅटरल फंडिंग एजन्सीकडनं रेट कमी मिळाला FDला जो हे होतो त्याच्यापेक्षा, तर ते घेणं केव्हाही चांगलं असतं. आणि दुसरं काय असतं, अनेक वेळेला जेव्हा तुम्ही लोन घेता, विशेषतः आता मी मेट्रोला बघितलंय, बाहेरून घेतलेलं असतं तर खूप डिसिप्लिन पण येते त्याच्यामध्ये. कारण तुम्हाला तुमचं सगळं हे, कारण तुम्हाला रिपे करायचं असतं. त्यामुळे हे असं इतकं त्याला स्ट्रेट जॅकेटेड नाहीये की माझ्याकडे पैसे आहेत तर मी तेच वापरेन. आपण तरी आपल्या प्रत्येक वेळेला आपण हाऊसिंग लोन घेऊनच घेतो आपण, काय आपली सगळी हे त्याच्यात वापरत नाही.
पण फायदे खूप असतात.
हां. त्यामुळे थोडंसं मला वाटतं तो एक प्रुडंट फायनान्शियल डिसिजन्स असतात ते, आणि ते बघूनच घेतले जातात. त्याला असं काही म्हणजे नीजर्क रिॲक्शन नसते त्याच्यात.
इन्व्हिट्स पण आपण देणार होतो
नाही, इन्व्हिट्ससाठी तुमचे एक रोड इवन फॉर इन्व्हिट्स यू नीड टू हॅव द इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर विच जनरेट्स रेव्हेन्यू इंडिपेंडेंटली. Now in coastal road, how will you have the INVITs? Because there is no toll. But so if that particular product needs to have their own source of revenue, which then fuels the INVIT. So we will find out. Now if STPs, if we generate water and that water we can sell in the market and then earn regular stream of revenue, then we can do that. So we have to find out, and we are working on that.
FDA recently has been conducting, and that's the talk of the town, it's been including the BMC canteens. So just wanted to know, ma'am, what kind of feedback has the BMC been getting, and has any of your favorite restaurants been sealed or anything?
I hardly go to restaurants. No, but it is good that each organization doing their job and even creating the buzz, because people then talk about it, they themselves become aware, and then they become demanding. So that is very, very important. So what FDA is doing is not only appreciable, not only because they are doing their job rightly, but they are also creating that awareness about safe food, about the discipline which we need to do. The only challenge in such kind of initiatives is its sustainability. So that only we have to ensure, and for that systemic changes are needed. Now, for example, now we have taken up, ideally we should not even do the pedestrian first campaign, but we need to do it because it is out of our focus. Everybody has taken it for granted that there won't be any place on the footpath to walk, so we can even walk on the road because it is allowed in our system. And many people who have encroached on footpaths, they think nobody is challenging me, so I am there. And BMC, with all so many things, every day there are new challenges and new things, so you forget your basic role. So there you have to again bring back that focus and start. But there also the challenge is you do it and repetitively, how many repetitive action you can take. So there's some discipline will have to come, that some internal discipline in the city will have to be there, and we need to, for certain factors, we need to reduce our tolerance there, and we need to be demanding. So once that happens, and I think what FDA is doing is creating that kind of a window where people also become aware, they also become demanding, and then probably system improves.
Just for a follow-up, given that you're a bureaucrat yourself, what do you think of his working style? Sort of is at the center of a lot. What do you think of that working style? Because bureaucrats usually tend to be these backroom boys, not so, they don't attract so much. Sort of, they're never in the spotlight. So I just want to get your sense of what do you think of the working style? Is it
Working style of?
Tukaram Muley.
Oh, I don't think that's the right question. But it's not for, again, don't make a reel out of it. It is, see, every officer has his own style of functioning. There are some basic things which do, and that style only, this uniqueness of each officer makes bureaucracy also very versatile. Because otherwise everybody knows what these are this is my rule book, and I function within that rule book. But at times society also needs some shocks, some kind of triggers, because without that subject doesn't become subject matter of discussion. But Tukaram is a mature officer. He knows that this kind of initial noise is needed, because otherwise nobody would bother even about that issue. And I'm very sure he will put in systems in place. So even later on, even when the new FDA, because you will stay there in that position for 2-3 years, but then you have to create a system, and that systemic kind of infrastructure would be needed, and that will always follow this kind of the initial action.
Zishan sir has been waiting
Yeah.
for a while.
So, ma'am, as you said, there are 17 agencies which look after the upkeep and planning of Mumbai. You have been at the helm of a lot of these agencies. There is so much of in-house technical expertise that is there. But almost all these agencies increasingly kind of hire external consultants for planning and developing projects. Sometimes these consultants get projects right, sometimes they don't. Almost all our initial metro lines that were planned had to be, kind of changed. So, is the fact of our over-reliance on consultants, does it symbolize the capacity gap that our agencies have? And is there a need to review this entire over-dependence on consultants?
I think dependence on consultant is not something which is bad or anything. I will give you an example. Metro Line 3, underground Aqua Line, which was for the first time we had this kind of an underground intervention in the city. So from where will you get the requisite expertise within government? So we got people from railways, we got people from this thing. Our initial team was only 100 100 odd. In fact, the technical team, if you see of MMRC, it will be not more than 50 to 60 people. The rest are all the allied services, clerical, HR, finance, and others. But this team of 100 was accompanied by 500 people of consultants, and they were there only for that job. Once the job is over, they left. So they gained, and if I decide to do everything in house, then we'll have to have huge teams because there is too much of work. And then how will that team gain experience? Why consultants are important? Because they work on various projects. So the consultants with whom we worked, they were it was a combination of 4 international consultants, and the key manpower was expat, but the second in command and the rest of the manpower was India. So these people learned from them because they have worked on many other projects. So that learning, that cross learning, that they borrow the experience sharing, that matters. If I keep a team of my own only, they will just say the local project which they are doing, how will they gain experience? So the technical consultant in consultancy, what happens? If I engage the consultant, I can get people for the requisite duration for that particular speciality. So in metro, when we were doing tunneling and especially the NATM work, which was very, very complex, and we didn't have that kind of experienced people in India. So we got one person, one key personnel from that consultant who has worked on similar projects in Europe for a certain duration. We had one tunneling expert from UK who worked with us for 2 years, but he used to come only for certain number of days, and the rest of the time he used to work on other projects. So the consultants has that kind of global expertise if they are real consultants. Then and that kind of cross sharing, knowledge sharing, experience sharing keeps happening. Otherwise, only if we have to decide all the define, plan, and execute all these projects in house, it won't be possible. And for that we'll need huge manpower and huge expenditure. So this is much better. The only thing is, your question is right. Those things which we can't do ourselves, for that we don't need consultants. There you are. But for example, in BMC, like our HE department, people have worked in that the hydraulic engineer department for so many years that they have gained their own experience. So they don't need any consultant from outside. But then what happens? I have to have such specialized people only in BMC, and then we can't allow transfers to happen. So now I have to keep engineers only in compartmentalized, and so that they gain experience. But that is also wrong for the organization, because then we can't manage our own manpower. So then BMC people get transferred from one department to other, and in that process they also at times lose their expertise of that department. So it's a very challenging kind of situation, and that is why we need consultants. And dependence on consultants is not bad, over dependence is bad, and not developing any in-house capacity is another issue. But I can give you example of Delhi Metro Rail Corporation. Delhi Metro Rail Corporation, first project they worked with the consultants, but later on, because they got so much of work, that they develop their own capacity to execute projects, to plan projects, and now they themselves are consultants. So DMRC's major revenue comes from their consultancy services. So their operational revenue, because you can't earn revenue only through tickets. So maybe their fare box revenue must be 40%. 48. 20% is their advertisement and all revenue, and the rest of the revenue comes from their consultancy services. And now what Delhi DMRC did, when Metro Line 3, we didn't want to conduct our operations in-house again. I didn't want to have a huge in-house team. So we floated a tender, and DMRC participated as a contractor. So they competed with Keolis and they won the bid. So now they have developed expertise in O&M also, and they can now, basis this experience, they can bid for O&M in other countries as well. So even the public entity can develop their own capacity and work as consultants. But for that, we need to, even I keep telling many my BMC officers also, because you have certain areas only BMC works, nobody else works. So that experience is with BMC engineers only. So we should be in a position to even start our own consultancy at some point of time. That kind of expertise we need to develop, and that is very much required. And DMRC is an example for that.
मेट्रोचं जाळं तर विस्तारतंय, प्रवासी वाढतायत, तर मेट्रोसाठी डिझास्टर प्लॅन काही केलाय का पालिकेने?
Disaster plan already असतो मेट्रोचा, कारण because when CMRS gives any approval, then we need to have that disaster plan. So metro, when it is planned and when it is the drawings are made, everything is made for the that extreme event which may happen any day or it may not happen. So if some such thing happens, if earthquake happens, if fire is there or some other, then how the evacuation will happen. So the whole metro is planned only on around that, and that is why you will find so many entry exits. The lifts are done in a particular way, escalators are done in a particular way. There are places where for the gathering places. So even if flood happens, then what is to be done? So the whole concept of disaster management is ingrained in metro's planning, and because railways that way have very stringent even legislation also in Metro Construction Act, Operation and Maintenance Act, they are different, and under that all these things are very well defined, and so we were taking that into account. And even the fire, we follow certain code, National Building Code or NFPA. These are American standards. So like the BMC's fire department, when we started taking their NOCs, that time they were not well versed with this, but they also learned with our team. And our team, and especially the consultants who had worked elsewhere, and how they had set up their fire management system. So though that knowledge is passed on to BMC as well. So each such new project is a learning experience for the local authorities as well.
कारण मध्यंतरी आपल्या डिझास्टरने तो मेट्रोकडे मागितला होता आपला, तो म्हणजे आला का आपल्या?
आरक्षण बदलाचे प्रस्ताव येत आहेत सध्या, जसं फुटबॉल मैदानाचं पण आरक्षण बदलते, असे बरेच या काही महिन्यामध्ये आले आहेत. डीपीची हे नाही होणार, म्हणजे डीपीची मोडतोड होते.
नाही, त्याच्यामध्ये कसं आहे, डीपी when even the development plan is prepared, there are not that everything you can plan in advance. So there are certain EPs are already there where the reservation is decided later on, and city is not a static entity. It's a live organic entity, so the requirements keep changing, and that is why there is a process given in the act or the DC regulation or MRTP act, that there is a provision for reservation, change in reservation. So reservation is a guiding principle. It's not something which is stamped in the stone. So you need to make those changes, but you please understand, the reservation change process is also a democratic process. So we put then there are suggestion objections. At times, if there are too many objections, the reservations are dropped. And if there are not, then the objections are, because we see only the objection part, but there is a demand also. Naturally, people that will not be reported. So when the suggestion objections are heard, both things are taken into account. It's a very, very elaborate process. People may think it differently, but at our level, and everything needs to be seen on file. You can't suddenly, if there are objections, then those objections are to be answered. They are to be seriously treated. So these discussions happen, but I again don't have full information, but I think the Honorable Guardian Minister has explained it very well, that originally the reservation for that plot was different, and they are only kind of regaining the same reservation.
Just let her finish, please.
We spoke about the Neville D'Souza Kingdom. I mean, it once again has brought to fore this issue of lack of open spaces, recreational spaces in Mumbai. Despite being a coastal city, even our seafront, we have not been able to capture it as well as we should have. I mean, how is the AMC planning to bridge this gap between this issue?
No, BMC BMC alone can't do it. What BMC does is, yes, in development plan there are open spaces which are kept, gardens which are kept, but again we have such small footprint. The area, the land print of ours is so small that the demands are galore. I mean, even if we have kept some open spaces just for the sake of it, now there is a demand that there should some heavy tree plantation should be done on that, because we are cutting trees in the city for various projects, then we need to plant trees in that. I fully understand that we need more open spaces, but in a city where the land itself is a scarcity, we have to be very innovative in terms of creating spaces. Maybe our buildings should, because for example now many buildings they have this podium, and they have created spaces on podium. So similarly, probably we need to be very innovative in terms of designs, in terms of built infrastructure, which themselves would generate such open spaces and made available for different usages. And coastal area, yes, but the coastal road gardens are coming, and you will be
Planting indigenous trees there. What is the roadmap that you've laid out for this?
no, I can't tell you each and everything, but yes, the coastal road gardens are being planned, and that is very beautifully designed. So that itself, because almost 70 hectares of area we are getting there. So there we will have the kind of open spaces which we all were wanting. The sports places for sports, places for performances, places for general gathering, places for people just to loiter. So these are the opportunities which we should utilize.
त्याला शुल्क लावणार आहे, मग त्याला
नाही नाही, शुल्क नाही, फार थोडं काही गोष्ट, पण त्याचे शुल्क म्हणजे नावाचं ते शुल्क नाही, ती काहीतरी सर्व्हिस तिथे असणार म्हणून आहे. समजा एव्हियरी केली तर मग त्याचं शुल्क असेल, पण दॅट इज अन अफोर्डेबल.
आपला हे राहील का अंकुश, म्हणजे ते
राहील.
किती असावं वगैरे असं काही?
It will be an affordable this thing.
Ma'am, we have a question on education from Pallav ma'am. She's our
Yeah.
education reporter.
Hi, ma'am. I spoke about prioritization of work to avoid delays. I wanted to know if there is any policy about school redevelopment. In BMC school, there are so many schools go for redevelopment, but there is no limit or deadline for those schools to restart. That needs to drop out.
Yeah.
And then some schools have to accommodate those,
Elsewhere.
yeah. So I wanted to know if there is any policy, because there are so many schools which are still waiting for redevelopment, and sometimes it is also alleged that that's a prime location and maybe that land is going to some other business.
No, I think BMC has some 1200 odd schools, and not necessarily 1200 buildings, because some of the schools are in there are 2-3 schools in one building as well, and in a systematic way the school redevelopment is happening. The issue is of budget. So at times again we have a lot of earlier backlog also. So I think this year some 600-700 crores carryover works are still there, and we need some new works as well, because there are two issues in BMC. How do we decide which school goes for redevelopment and which is repair? So if a school can be repaired at some cost, then we tend to repair it instead of going for reconstruction or redevelopment. But if because many of these schools are very old, so if the repair costs are higher, more than 50% of the actual new construction cost, then we decide to go for the construction. But new construction always comes with lot of issues, right from the road width, because the old school at particular road width is absolutely fine because there is a legacy issue. But now the development control regulation mandates that the road width of that school has to be of certain size. So if that is not there, then we need to do all the legal processes. Then many schools, another issue is whether we should build the school as it is or we should build it for the full potential. Because this is an opportunity. If you are building the school now, then next 30-40 years it will not be redeveloped. So building the school for potential, it means it's a high 7-8 story building, and then it needs more cost. So that much budget is not there. Even if you build, then constructing such building takes time. Then it needs more power requirement is more. So you need to have a substation. So there are multiple issues in that, and that is why it takes time. But I fully agree with you that we need to do something about it, where this process is expedited and those schools come back.
मॅडम, स्कूल रिडेव्हलप होत आहेत, त्यातल्या अनेक शाळा ज्या आहेत त्या खासगीकरण केलं जाणार आहे, तर काही खासगी संस्थांनाही चालवण्यासाठी देण्यात येईल.
असं तर काही आता तरी काही नाही.
कुलाबा, माहीम इथल्या शाळा प्रसिद्ध, म्हणजे ते प्रकरण भरपूर गाजलेले आहेत.
ते कुठलं स्पेसिफिक असेल तर सांगा, पण ॲट द मोमेंट सम ऑफ द आवर पॉलिसी वी डिड आय मीन olden times only some schools were given some rooms, not schools. Rooms are given to, because we are generating more area when we redevelop. So the school rooms are more than what we need. So some of the rooms are given to private schools as per their demand. Sometimes the private schools go for redevelopment, and now where do they shift that school temporarily? So there is also our policy. So some of the schools are given to them during their redevelopment time, and there is a specific policy, they pay rent to us for that. So it's a mixed baggage. You can't say that you can't give area, because BMC is the biggest landowner in the city, and a private school, on which land it would come? Even if there is reservation, people won't necessarily like to give that land for the reservation. Even in accommodation reservation also, limited number of schools are developed, and the demand for private schools is equally high, and we can't deny the city of that facility. So at times BMC's some part of the BMC schools is given for private schools.
मिठागरांच्या जमिनी या पुनर्विकासासाठी आपण दिल्यात, म्हणजे बहुतेक साऱ्या पुनर्विकास प्रकल्पांना मिठागरांच्या जमिनी दिल्या जातात, ज्याला स्थानिकांचाही विरोध होतोय. त्याच्याबाबत पालिकेची भूमिका.
पालिकेचा परत हा विषय काही फक्त पालिकेचा नाहीये, हा खूप लार्जर विषय आहे. सॉल्ट पॅन लँड्स आर टिपिकली ओन्ड बाय द सॉल्ट डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ गव्हर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, विच कम्स अंडर DIPP. Now they have changed nomenclature. So government of India's policy is very clear that state government can take all these. 2 years back they issued a very detailed guidelines that these lands can be used by state government for their own projects, and there is a certain cost attached to that, which is to be paid to the salt department. Only thing is, in all other areas the policy gives kind of the powers are delegated to certain the local officers also to give that land. But as far as Mumbai's lands are concerned, because they are very delicate and part of that fragile ecosystem, so these lands they go to central cabinet. So central cabinet only allows that, and then lot of due diligence and thorough checks are done. But state government and BMC has already identified which lands are needed, especially for our reservations, because many DP roads are going through salt pan land, especially in eastern suburbs. Then some salt pans lands are needed for our gardens, for symmetry. So the typical usages which are there defined in the reservation. So for that, because salt pan is part of our land, we call it salt pan, but they are part of the Mumbai's land infrastructure, or land what I would say, it's a parcel. So
water holding ponds also in a way.
They are water holding. When some of them, yes, but see, if in eastern suburbs earlier, the drainage system and nala system was not that strong, because the salt pan lands used to work as the holding ponds. But now we are also augmenting nalas. We are also augmenting the drainage system. And this needs to be properly studied also, that some areas will still be working as holding ponds, they need to be retained. And for that, the reservations are also there, that many of these lands will have gardens and those reservations are not going anyway. So as per the planning norms, those reservations will be there. You can't do away with that. But nevertheless, if the salt pans are protected, fine. Otherwise, once they are encroached, then you can't help. So that is why more prudent use of salt pans, taking into account the city's requirement holding pond, that this is how they should be used. And the process is very stringent. It is not easily allowed. So I think in that process, whatever is, if it is really needed, then only that lasts till the end, till the central cabinet approval.
In your career, you have broken a lot of glass ceilings, a lot of things that young bureaucrats can emulate. But while discussing your career, one aspect that will always get discussed is the RA depot issue.
I thought it is now forgotten.
Because we're speaking about this particular act, just last week, a bunch of architects and urban planners wrote a letter to the BMC speaking about the fact that this rampant distribution of land that is happening to various big entities at the cost of the livability of the city. What do you think?
No, I don't know what is it about. I mean, which lands are being distributed at the cost of livability of the city? I mean, the general statement will be very difficult to responded to.
No, so even that is a difficult thing. That
No, if there is any specific issue, then I can respond to.
There was a bunch of letter that was written to BMC.
No, I don't recollect. At least I have not seen. Yeah.
Rahul Kadri and they said,
No. But which I don't know which land they spoke about.
in terms of green cover, forest areas, parks for residents of Mumbai, do you think they are doing enough for that?
I think given the kind of land area which we have, we are more than enough. We are better than New York and London. If you see the per capita availability of green space. But yes, we can do better always. Because the cities are also big. Here, look at the pressure of population, the kind of density we have. 23,000 is our general population density. Which city would have that with this kind of land area? So, how do we balance? You have development requirement also. Despite having so much of built up area, 40 lakh people are still living in slums. So, as city planners, as city administrators, we have to balance. People can have lot of wishful thinking. Even I would like to live in a city which takes care of everything, where there are open spaces, where there is less crowd. But the reality of Mumbai is different. So how do we do that? Mumbai, when the last census of the tree census was done in 2018, and we have roughly 29 lakh trees in the city. Plus you add trees from RA forest. I am not talking about Borivali National Park. Apart from Borivali National Park, even you add trees from RA, that number goes to 32 to 30 lakh trees. Out of that, 2 lakh trees are along the road. The rest are in public spaces, gardens, private spaces, or areas which are kind of secluded from others. The only problem here is this number is, given the land which is available with us, this number is good. The only problem is the equitable distribution. Like Dharavi, where there is huge slum population, the tree cover is less, and those, because number of trees are less, that area will have more heat. So naturally the standard of living is already very poor, and on top of it, this issue also adds to that. Whereas some areas where the standard of living is very good and they also have large tree cover. So this kind of the equity issues are there in the city, but nevertheless we are not bad, but we need to do better. And for that, what we have done is, in our tree act now tells that if you cut the number of trees which are to be compensatorily planted, they are linked to the age of the tree. So the act is good, and sometimes even if you cut 5 trees, you need to plant 200 trees against that. The only thing is, each entity will have to do it very seriously, very sincerely, and very properly. Now, even to plant those trees, where is the land? There is no land. So the trees are being planted outside. So even if not Chandrapur, that is for forest, but for us it is Palghar, Panvel, the peripheral areas where there is land. So what we said that in BMC, wherever the large development happens, then we get certain amenity plots, which we have now properly inventorized. We have put them on GIS, and among those plots, we have found some where it is not to be put to any recreational use. It is available as garden. So we can plant trees on those plots, but these are small size plots scattered all over the city. But if you go by Miyawaki plantation, then we can plant almost 1 lakh trees on these plots. So that we have identified now. We presented it to our tree authority also, and we'll start working on it. And that could be linked with this compensatory plantation which is needed by various agencies, so that their plantation is not done somewhere outside the city. But so we may have to find areas where we do. I think even the private development which happens, that will have to be more responsible in this, because wherever there is an opportunity, people are very much eager to load more and more FSI. But I think that same eagerness will have to be there to create the green spaces, which are mandatory as per the development control regulation. And if everybody becomes part of that, because we don't have separate land parcels where we can have the green spaces. So whatever we have, within that we have to create scope for that.
I think we will not publish this. We have more than enough trees
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Mumbai. So
No. I'm just saying, there will be difference of opinion, but if you I had given these numbers in one of the presentations. We have given.
You talked about the age. I'll tell you a story. I'm sure you must be aware. I mean, that 50 is something like trees older than 50 you can't cut, right? But in Thane, one of the projects along the highway, all trees were suddenly found there 49 years of age.
That's what. So see, it is not the problem of policy. It is the problem of people. So if everybody, rules are there, everything is there, but if we are not going to follow the rules, if you are not going to do that thing properly, then there is a problem. So it is a combined and joint responsibility. It is all of us. It is very easy. Not see, we need some whipping boy so that we don't feel guilty. So or authorities like BMC or so, they always become whipping boys, but that is not the answer. Only they can't change the situation. It jointly it will have to be done.
And I believe also there are these avoidable deaths of, say, due to landslides, due to building collapses. Of course, the BMC issues warnings, and the MADA has publishes daily the green list. But do you think, given how complex the cost issue is when it comes to housing in the city, is there any other mechanism you think we need to put in place to maybe forceful evacuation? Or
no, yes, we'll have to at some point of time we'll have to do that.
Or temporary accommodation?
There is no accommodation available. See, if there is, and the accommodation is available if the structures are protected, because here who gets accommodator, who gets redeveloped? There is a system for that. There is it says that the person has to be living there from this date or before this date, then the structure has to be protected. And then if in situ redevelopment is happening, then they can get accommodated. And if not there, then they will have to get accommodated somewhere else as project affected people. But at times people don't go. And how long the city will keep on doing this redevelopment? Because the city will ultimately have some capacity, and that capacity, if is already exceeded, then such kind of issues are bound to happen. There is no again one stop answer. This needs to be debated, discussed, and all levels, political level, administrative level, social level, and then only the situation.
Sorry, a small follow-up to that. Even as we debate and discuss, we've unfortunately had two incidents recently, a landslide, a building collapse, and the monsoon season is still on. Against the backdrop of the two tragedies, is there anything that the BMC at least try and revisit? I mean, I'm just trying to...
No, again, you need to understand the issue. It is not BMC. It is again the land belongs to state government. People have unauthorizedly occupied it. BMC's role comes when the rescue operation has to be done. So it is not only BMC alone can't have the answer. It's
my question on this. In 2020, the Bombay High Court came up with this judgment in Jilani building that on certain state lands, it's BMC's responsibility to act on the illegal constructions. So, do you think is it an additional burden or?
No, it is not an additional burden, but any organization also has a capacity, no? If how many people we have to do this kind of continuous daily.
Affecting the kind of.
No, it is not affecting. It is you can't keep on doing this. That's the problem. So maybe one day you can do it, but I'm saying the same thing, that everybody has to behave in a disciplined and legal way. So those who are building illegal structure, they also have a responsibility, no? That they should not do. So not that you can't keep on chasing it. On government land, the ground floor structures, again BMC can't straight away go and demolish, because again we don't know which one are protected, which are not. Then more than 14 feet height construction, yes, but there are so many in the city. So, and each, it's not that easy to you go and demolish, because even to build that you need to be very, very legally correct. That only removing that structure above 14 feet is very easy said than done. So these are problems. BMC also has a role in it, but these are very complex, very the multilateral problems, I would say. So they need to be again debated, solved. But these are, of course, unavoidable deaths. Such tragedies should not happen. And from our side, we have now decided, along with the collector, that after monsoon we will find out the most vulnerable places which are, and we will try to demolish some of these structures in advance. We'll request people to move from those areas because there is no other alternative.
Ma'am, I wanted to ask, like, are we looking into framing a land use policy for hilly regions? I'm telling you why I'm asking this, because like this latest incident that has happened, it was flagged by the GSI in 2018. The same hill, they had submitted a report and saying that this is going to collapse, and they had like given a word by word prediction of whatever has happened, and they have also like recommended that a land use pattern should be framed for these hilly areas. And I don't think in Mumbai there is such a.
No, there is use that these are non-development zones in our DP. The land use is already defined, but still people go and live there.
So are you looking into like a more hands-on approach, because the officer is saying that we don't have resources, BMC has to.
No, that's why I said we'll join hands with BMC, because the legal owners are collector. They need to issue notices, and BMC will give them all logistic support.
ओशी नसलेल्या इमारतींचा प्रश्न कसा सोडवणार मालिका मोठ्या संख्येने
सगळ्याच प्रश्नांची उत्तरे एका ह्याच्यामध्ये नाही देता येणार जे वर्षानुवर्षांचे आहेत मॅडम.
Yeah, this chief minister always, I mean, almost every month he mentions that Mumbai's importance as the international financial capital. And it's been his dream to make it a world-class city. And he's taken a lot of initiative also, and also supporting diplomacy. But every monsoon, or unfortunately this monsoon, we had very two tragedies. So say loss of life due to the falling of the tree. A very small child lost his life.
Yeah.
I mean, what are the lessons we learned from this, and how challenging it is to deal with it?
No, I think how do you look at it? Yes, there were two tragedies, but what about the rest of the season? We managed monsoon much better this time because lot of advanced work was done. Again, I said lot of IT-based systems were put in place, and this thing. Unfortunate incidents happen, and in a city like Mumbai, almost every day some or the other thing is happening which should not happen. But there are lives. No, these one was, of course, there was a error because where the manhole was kept open without having the barricades, and that area should have been protected, and that particular issue which was being reviewed daily on almost daily basis, but there that glaring mistake happened. So yes, that was something which could have avoided. As far as tree falling is concerned, the trees fall in Mumbai because again the same area, very limited space, and so many trees are already there, and their root system, it doesn't go deeper, it spreads in a wider area horizontally, and we don't have that kind of soil cover because of other utilities, so many other things. But there also it is very difficult to predict. So it is very difficult to predict that this tree is going to fall or this tree, because every monsoon we do trimming. Out of 2 lakh trees, 1 lakh trees were trimmed. Now there would be an issue that whether they were trimmed right or wrong, but again 1 lakh trees trimming monitoring is becomes very difficult. And these are the I would say, despite it's a tragedy, and how to avoid that. So we are taking some measures. We are trying to understand how we can do risk assessment for trees and how we can, but again cutting the trees is not an option. So how to protect those trees, whether we can do some more trimming and reduce the imbalance load on those trees. So there is already we had our own committee, but Dr. Sanjay Deshmukh is now working on it. He would give us some suggestion. We post that incidents, whoever experts who have approached us, we have had a workshop with them, and another detailed guidelines are coming up. So we'll try to improvise, we'll try to avoid, but this time Wind speed was also there. Normal, almost double the trees we lost this season, double the number of trees which otherwise we do. The way I could compare those number with the trees which we had lost in the earlier two storms, Taukte and one other storm. So those many, almost close to that number of trees fell in during those 2-3 days. So that was again a very unique some I would say offbeat kind of issue. But still, even in cities, otherwise also tree falling incidents have increased, I would say, because of various reasons. So we, from our side, will come up with some policy. But this is again a matter of it's a food for thought for everyone. Then how to reduce the risk of tree falling.
Well, would you elaborate a little bit? You said that once the monsoon season is over, you've taken a decision to identify areas which are particularly vulnerable, and maybe you would have to take the call to demolish. Would you just elaborate a little bit?
No, we are because after this incident, we discussed with collector. We'll come up with that policy. We have to first find out, because during monsoon we can't do anything. We can't remove structures also. But we'll try to find out the most vulnerable areas. Like Geological Survey of India has already given some areas where they have suggested some measures. Some of the areas these measures are taken. Some the wall is protected, walls are constructed, but that they are not enough, because when in that very vulnerable area, if people are living, they are bathing, they are using water, the toilets are getting constructed. So then what exactly happens in that area is nobody knows. And with so many people living there, you can't even take measures. So some areas probably will have to vacate, get those areas vacated. We have to, if they are unauthorized, if they are, of course, by following due process, but we'll have to take some action. So which we are planning.
And just one big picture question, given the scale and an unprecedented scale at which infrastructure development is happening in the city of Mumbai, if Mumbai were to become a blueprint for, say, such development in other megacities, what do you think? And not really, don't answer this question as a BMC commissioner, but just you're uniquely positioned to answer it, given that you've headed different bodies. What is that one lesson that you think other cities could try and emulate, and one lesson that you think they need to avoid?
I think first is why the metros are happening, because they were planned in 2004. The Metro Master Plan was prepared and it was done in a very scientific way. Comprehensive transport study was done by MMRDA for the entire MMR region, and that also considered the future requirements in a very systematic way by adopting the method of survey and then secondary information and all. And they created various futuristic scenarios and picked up the most realistic one. So because we have these plans available, it is easy to build on those plans. So probably other cities should do that. They should make a plan of their city, or see where exactly the city is going, which are their strong points, which are their weak points, and which are the areas where the city will really get a boost. And then accordingly they should make first detailed planning of their infrastructure, and they will start building. Another strong point of Mumbai is we generally complain about multiplicity of agencies, but Mumbai has these various agencies which have the nimbleness and the action orientation, that they can quickly gear up for taking up big projects. Because for an organization like BMC, which is a behemoth, it takes some time, but like be it MMRDA or MSRDC or CIDCO for that matter, so they have that nimbleness and expertise and focused kind of team availability to take up these projects. So maybe other cities can think of having some kind of specialized agencies or SPVs for project implementation. What is to be avoided is probably you should not take up so many projects at one go. You should at least plan in such a way that some projects are completed within a short span of time, and then you take up further, which I like about Delhi Metro. Delhi Metro was done in phases, and phase one, once the phase one was close to completion, then by that time they had prepared themselves for phase two. And then, so what happened? that phase 1 got completed. First of all, it was made available to people. Secondly, they start earning revenue because it became operational. So that revenue was useful and helpful for them to put back or plow back in the next phase. But in Mumbai, we have taken up so many projects at one go. Yes, it was needed because Mumbai needed that kind of a boost, but it's an operational challenge. So we may, if possible, we can avoid that operational challenge.
I was speaking about so many construction activities over the past 3-4 years. Mumbai has seen a very new problem, that is the issue of air pollution. So, I mean, right now, ma'am, how we are seeing, because the High Court had also intervened, that they have also said that we should bring it down to double digits, the air pollution reading sign. So right now, ma'am, how is BMC is equipped with it? I know there is MPCB is also involved, and last time there was a talk about forming a common committee that would also look at the airshed about the other satellite cities, Kalyan, Dombivli, and everything. So how is BMC looking at it? At the health, since it is at the health.
You made a one right point that when you think of air pollution, you can't think in an isolated way only for the city, because a lot of multiple factors are responsible for the AQI of Mumbai. But one major factor which probably is not discussed, it is the air movement in the whole in the whole region, MMR, and then how the wind and the dust is also moved because of certain effect. So that is also to be taken into account. But what is in our hand, that the factors which are contributing to air pollution, how we can reduce them. So the first and foremost is of course the construction activity. Now some good change has happened in that, like BMC itself is monitoring more than 3,000 construction sites, where we have now mandated that they should have the full cover. They should put those AQI monitors. Yes, some of them may not be working. Yeah, that is also true. But still 3,000 is a large number. There is a dashboard which is easily available for our own internal officers, and which sites are not, the AQI indicator is not working, which is working. So that we are trying to control, and that's a positive sign. Of course, there is a huge scope for improvement in that, but at least people are now aware that if I am starting a construction site, then I should cover it fully. I should put measures to reduce the dust and netting and all. Most of the RMC plants are now fully covered. Casting yards are fully covered. Those we never used to see that earlier. So some such obvious measures are taken. Major contributor is of course transport. So where we need to again shift to public transport is very important. Shift to EVs is very important, and that will happen over a period of time. We are moving in that direction, but that will happen over a period of time.
And shift to better cooperative.
Shift to
better cooperative.
So you think they are also contributors to pollution, air pollution?
Do you think, I mean, this is a problem which not be fixed overnight, but what do you think the BMC can do to at least ensure that the coming winter, say, is different, or at least better than the last?
Again, one BMC alone can't do. BMC has already issued very detailed guidelines for the construction sites, for other areas. So everybody should follow the norm. Try to follow the norm. And the winter pollution has other factors also. Those factors, some of them may be controllable, some of them may not be controllable. But what is in our control, there we should, the dust pollution, the air quality disturbance due to construction activity, at least that we can control.